World War II was a time of great battles and daring operations, but there was another kind of fighting, a secret war fought with trickery and illusion. This was the work of the Ghost Army, a special unit created by the United States Army. Their mission was to deceive the enemy, to make the Nazis believe things that weren't true. The Ghost Army was top secret. Very few people knew about it. Their work helped to save lives and win the war. The Ghost Army was made up of artists, sound engineers and radio operators. They used their skills in unusual ways. Instead of guns and bombs, their weapons were inflatable tanks, fake radio transmissions and sound effects. They created the illusion of real army units where there were none. The Ghost Army was formed in 1944. They arrived in Europe shortly after D-Day. From then until the end of the war, they staged more than 20 battlefield deceptions. They moved quickly, setting up their illusions and then disappearing before the enemy could discover the truth. The idea for the Ghost Army came from the need to outsmart the enemy. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the leader of the United States during this time, saw the potential of deception in warfare. He approved the formation of this special unit. Roosevelt knew that every soldier counted. He believed that if the Ghost Army could save even a few lives, it would be worth it. The Ghost Army was part of a larger strategy to defeat the Axis powers, led by Nazi Germany. The leader of Nazi Germany was Adolf Hitler. He was a dictator who had started the war and caused immense suffering. The Allies, led by the United States, Great Britain and the Soviet Union, were determined to stop him. Leading Great Britain was Prime Minister Winston Churchill. He worked closely with Roosevelt to plan the war effort. Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union, was also a crucial ally, though his relationship with Roosevelt and Churchill was complex. Together, these leaders coordinated their efforts to defeat the Axis powers. The Ghost Army used inflatable tanks, jeeps and artillery to make the enemy think they were a much larger force. These inflatable decoys looked real from a distance, especially from the air. The soldiers even used sound effects to make the illusions more convincing. They played recordings of tanks, trucks and soldiers talking to make it seem like a real army unit was setting up camp. They also used fake radio transmissions to mislead the enemy. Skilled radio operators sent out messages that made the Germans think that large Allied units were moving into position, when in reality there were only a handful of Ghost Army soldiers. These tricks often caused the Germans to hesitate or move their troops in the wrong direction, and giving the real Allied forces a crucial advantage. One of their most successful operations took place during Operation Fortitude South. This was a large-scale deception plan aimed at confusing the Germans about the location of the D-Day landings. The Ghost Army used their tricks to make the Germans believe that the main invasion force would land at Pas-de-Calais instead of Normandy. The deception was so successful that the Germans kept troops stationed at Pas-de-Calais even after the real landings had begun at Normandy. The Ghost Army's actions saved countless lives. By drawing enemy fire and causing confusion, they protected real soldiers and helped the Allies gain ground. Their work remained a secret for many years after the war. It wasn't until the 1990s that their story began to be told. The Ghost Army's story is a reminder that wars are not always won with brute force. Sometimes it takes creativity, ingenuity, and a bit of deception to outsmart the enemy and achieve victory.